Now, joining me on the news to further discuss this is an international analyst, Bolu Michael-Biyi. He joins us from Mazini, Eswatini. You're welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Michael, very quickly, how significant is Donald Trump's meeting with Zelensky and European leaders for the future of the Ukraine conflict, especially when we consider that his talk with Putin failed to produce a positive outcome?
Well, I wouldn't conclude that, the talks was not a successful one, being that the meeting we have seen was as a result of the meeting that both leaders had, and we wouldn't expect something substantial to come out from such meeting because two leaders of a different country can decide the fate of another country. Any conversation without the attendance of Zelensky to determine the fate of the Ukrainian people is, in my opinion, null and void. However,
Michael, can you hear me? Are you still with us? Hi, Michael, can you hear me? Now, I think we may have lost him, but we will try and get him back. Just away from that as we continue. In Europe, French President Emmanuel Macron has warned about global complacency towards the war in the Ukraine. He was speaking at a ceremony commemorating the 81st anniversary of the liberation of Buenos les Mimosas during World War II, where he described as sleepwalkers those who believe the conflict does not concern them. Macron suggested that ignoring the Ukraine war now is setting the stage for tomorrow's defeat. Okay, Michael, can you hear me? I think we have him back.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, thank you. Michael, just to, pick up on the conversation that we have just started, in your opinion, I know it's been said right now that Trump has been dubbed the peacemaker of the world, but in your opinion, what do you think are the implications of Trump ruling out Ukraine, joining NATO, and reclaiming Crimea in a peace deal?
Okay, I think Ukraine may feel limited by that, because they're losing on two of their long-term goals. That is joining NATO, also returning, keeping Crimea. But it also reflects a security gap because without NATO, Ukraine depends on the U.S. and Europe for guarantees instead. But I don't think that any Ukrainian will want to be Russian right now, especially when we look at precedents, the time in the 1938 when the concession of the Southern region of the then Czechoslovakia was ceded to Hitler at the time in order to pacify Hitler not to kickstart the World War II. Despite that concession, it didn't stop World War II from not happening. So they wouldn't want to repeat that with Crimea as well by considering seceding their land and expecting guarantees. You want to put the security of an entire country into what will now be a former enemy. It's like selling out to them, and it gives Russia the power to invade Ukraine anytime they want because they will now hold the security apparatus of Ukraine. And I don't think that a secession of Crimea will ever happen. If it happens, then I think President Zelensky will face a lot of resentment back home. In time of peace, election will take place and it's going to lose woefully.
Right.
But we could see some compromise from Russia. They might be open to a ceasefire.
All right. I mean, taking into consideration what you just mentioned regarding Zelensky, how could Zelensky's accusation actually against Putin affect the diplomatic atmosphere in Washington?
Yeah, I think definitely to raise the tension, to make the talks much more sharper and less friendly.
Right.
Also put the allies, that is the U.S. and Europe. They might feel pushed to take a harder line against Russia. On the flip side, it signals determination. It shows that Zelensky is not willing to accept Russian terms or attacks as normal. But however, there are limits to compromises. It might make peace deal to be harder to reach because there's a lot of distrust between Ukraine and Russia.
All right. I mean, Michael, just very quickly, I know that now with the fact that what's been going on between Ukraine and Russia has been prolonged for so many years, let's take into consideration all the leaders now that have decided to come into play. So with leaders like Stromer, Merz, and Macron attending, what unity's stance, if any, can we expect from Europe in these talks?
Yeah, as I said earlier, they're trying to see how they can, have a united front. I think it's a good. It shows that they all want the fighting to stop. It's likely that we'll see them have a united front to have a ceasefire. They're all going to show their support for Ukraine's sovereignty. So we expect that they will, have strong words backing Ukraine's independence. That is, they wouldn't want any secession of any of Ukrainian land to Russia. They might. It's possible that they might have some differences in their details they're going to share as well. Some of the countries may accept the limits, that is, Ukraine not joining NATO. Some others may push for stronger defense pledges. But one thing for sure is that they're going to be having a united message, one major message to Russia, which is that Europe and United States, they are all together, they are not divided, and they are strongly behind Ukraine, which would definitely put Russia into the corner.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. Unfortunately, that's the only time we have, but thank you for your take and your input on this matter.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.